AM 560, The Answer.
The content and information on Real Estate Airwaves is for informational purposes only and should not be regarded as legal advice. Real Estate Airwaves does not provide legal advice and make no warranty or representation regarding the information on the show. Real Estate Airwaves shall not assume any liability for damages of any kind whatsoever relating to the use, misuse, or reliance of this information. The listener should conduct their own investigations, analysis, due diligence, draw their own conclusions, and make their own decisions. Any areas concerning taxes or specific legal or technical questions should be referred to lawyers, accountants, consultants, brokers, or other professionals licensed, qualified, or authorized to render such advice.
No fluff, no hype, no gurus. You're listening to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer. Get the inside information you need to find, fund, fix, and flip real estate in today's market. Joshua Ingalls and Vincent Pace share their secrets to minimize risk, maximize profit, and get deals done. We're pulling the curtain back and sharing the knowledge you need to succeed in real estate. And now, your hosts, Joshua and Vincent.
Thanks for tuning in. Today we are talking about working with real estate agents and how to do that effectively so you can put properties under contract and sell them for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. My name is Joshua Ingalls. I'm an active real estate investor. Over the last 3 years, I've flipped over 60 properties, and I'm also an active real estate agent with United Real Estate.
And I'm Vincent Pace. I head up Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance. We provide short-term financing for real estate investments here in the Chicago area and nationwide.
So when you're looking to buy properties, specifically off the MLS, so these are listed properties, you need to find an aggressive buyer's agent. These are agents that you need on your team that can help you locate and execute and move quickly in order to buy these homes. So when you're interviewing buyer's agents, there's some questions you're going to want to ask them. Of course, one of those questions is, how long have you been an agent in this area? If you're working with an agent that specializes in maybe a few suburbs or perhaps in a section of the city, you want to find out what their expertise is in those areas.
And then you kind of want to look at their numerical stats. How many houses did they close last year? You're looking for someone who's gotten enough done to be comfortable working with investors, but probably not the guy who sold 500. If he's done 500 with investors, you're going to be sort of low on the list as a new client of his. The other thing to note here is you're going to want to focus on what they've done with investors, not with homeowners.
Yeah, so you're going to want to ask them, of course, how long have they been working with investors? If they have, we're looking to buy these homes and make a profit on them. We're not looking to buy these homes and move into them. So we need to get aggressive pricing when we purchase these properties. So they have to understand the difference between working with a homeowner and working with an investor.
And it is quite different. I mean, at the end of the day, the investor is all about the numbers. Do the numbers work out for this deal? Is this deal going to be profitable for me? Whereas a homeowner, it's more of a gut feeling. Do you like this house? If you like it, then maybe you see if you can make the numbers work. But it's a very different sort of client to work with. So another question you can ask them is, are you an investor yourself? How many investment properties do you own? How many investments have you done? The best agents will always be investors themselves too, and you will know from that they know the ins and outs. They know the headaches that come, and they understand getting a deal done.
Yeah, you're also going to want to see how many investors are they currently working with. If they're working with, again, 20 investors and you're a brand new investor yourself, you may be low on the totem pole, or they may be cherry picking their best deals to certain investors. So you want somebody who's comfortable with working with investors, ideally perhaps working with an agent who works with buy and hold investors, because you're a flipping investor, which is a little bit different, and you're not necessarily competing with their other pool of investors.
So in your selection, you're really looking to strike a balance. You want someone with experience working with investors, but you don't want them overwhelmed by their current pool of investors. So the next question you want to ask them is, do you have time to take on another client? You don't want somebody who's so overwhelmed with their largest client who's doing 10 buys a month that they can't assist you as well. You want to make sure that they have availability to send deals your way. And, for example, they don't have an exclusivity agreement of some sort with somebody else. If you're kind of second or third in the totem pole with them, you're not going to be getting the best deals. The best deals will get snatched up.
Yeah, you're also going to want to see what types of deals do they specialize in. Some agents I've worked with in the past are awesome at HUD purchases. And these agents work HUD, and that's the system that they use to purchase properties. There's some agents I work with that are specifically short sale agents and know how to work short sales. So you want to find out what their specialties are.
And you'll want to ask specifically about REO properties, real estate owned, typically by a lender that took it back from a borrower, usually a homeowner. So most commonly, that's going to be a bank. And when dealing with REO owned by banks, it can be sort of a strict process. And having somebody who knows how to deal with that, knows where banks are going to pull out if you change something, can be very beneficial to getting those deals done. Often, they're going to be some of the better deals out in the market.
Yeah, I've heard from various investors that sometimes they've lost deals. They had it under contract, but their agent did not fill out the paperwork properly, and they lost the deal. For example, some banks, believe it or not, require you to use blue ink. And if an agent doesn't follow that process, you actually risk losing deals that you could have put under contract. So
as a lender, we see this happen pretty frequently where the buyer or the borrower of ours will go in and say, hey, this is a cash offer. But then at the end of the day, it is a loan with our financing there. And sometimes banks will walk away from that. Now, most of the time, they raise a fuss and ultimately do it because at the end of the day, they're still selling the property for the same price. But you run a risk by not having that properly filled out, and an agent who knows how to handle that will have the documents filled out correctly from the beginning.
Yeah, you're also going to want to find an agent who will also not only help you buy these properties, but an agent that understands how to analyze a deal. If an agent is sending you comps, let's say you're in a neighborhood that was built in the 70s, and they're helping you analyze a deal, and they're using comps from a neighborhood where the homes were built in 2000 and later, that's not an agent. You need an agent that you necessarily want to work with. You want an agent that knows how to run comps and can also help you and educate you on how to analyze deals.
And you can take that up a higher step and have them help you analyze the market. Which pockets are better for investment? Where are things turning? They can direct your attention. They can help you direct your attention to the best segments of the market where you'll have opportunities that maybe aren't apparent across the entire market.
And when you're communicating with agents, you need to let them know that you're a serious buyer. So good deals don't last long. So if there's a potentially good deal that hits the market today, will they be able to show it to me? You need to ask them that question so that the expectations are set up front.
One way you can help them get comfortable that you're serious is to provide them with a proof of funds. Now, obviously, that's simple enough if you've got it sitting in your account, but you can also work with a lender like us, Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance, to get a proof of funds by getting pre-approved for a line of credit with us.
And there's a couple different types of agents you can work with, too. A lot of agents are very local, meaning they might work maybe 2 or 3 specific cities. And then there's more general agents. So if you're working with more of a general buyer's agent that are focusing on all areas of the city, this needs to be someone, again, who's scouring the MLS at all different times of the day. Sometimes properties are listed at 2 a.m., sometimes they're listed at 11 a.m., sometimes they're listed at 10 o'clock at night. So an agent who's on the MLS at various times of the day is important, especially if you're working with an agent who's looking in a large geographic area. And you also need an agent, if you're working in a large area, they need to be very, very systematized. I work with a hedge fund. He used to manage a hedge fund, and now he's transitioned to working with investors. So he's very systematized in finding properties.
We've found that generally the best brokers will have some sort of system put in place. For instance, we have a sister company under the Barnett Capital umbrella that does these sorts of transactions, and they've done hundreds over the past several years. And the most successful brokers that they work with often have some computerized system that's scouring MLS data, kicking them potential leads before they have a human put eyes on it.
Yeah, and you want also, if you're working with a more specialized agent in a particular city or maybe 3 cities, this needs to be someone who has their ear low to the ground, that may perhaps know of pocket listings coming up and can bring you those deals before they ever hit the MLS. That's why it's also good to develop relationships with some of those top agents in particular neighborhoods, because sometimes they can bring you deals that no one else even knows about. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the marketing plan that I use to sell my homes for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. Stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about working with sellers agents.
Mortgage rates are still near historic lows. If you're looking to buy your first home, upgrade, downsize, invest, or refinance, contact Matthew Ewald from First Advantage Mortgage, a Draper and Kramer company. Matthew's been a trusted mortgage consultant for over 13 years and has options to fit your unique needs. With 40-plus investors, call Matthew today at 630-376-0484. That's 630-376-0484. Or apply online at mortgagechicagoland.com. Company NMLS 2551, NMLS 198323. Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee, Equal Housing Lender.
If you want to do real estate deals, you need to learn the systems. Visit fliptoriches.com for info on workshops happening the first Tuesday of every month. Meet me, Joshua Ingalls, and other active real estate investors in the Chicagoland area. We give the most value possible with networking and information for new and seasoned investors. We meet the first Tuesday of every month at 3009 North Kedzie in Chicago at 6 p.m. Check out fliptoriches.com. That's fliptoriches.com for all the info now.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. It's all about making money with real estate. Now, back to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
We are talking about working with real estate agents. In our last segment, we discussed working with a buyer agent. So when you're buying a property, the agents you need to work with. The skills they need to bring to the table are the ability to find the deals for you, the ability to help you analyze them, and the ability to negotiate and put out offers. When you get to the other end of the transaction and you're done, now you're looking at a seller's agent. And the skill set they need is a bit different. The biggest piece that changes is now you need someone who is a marketer. They need to be able to market your property, and that's a lot different from what you were looking at on the front end.
Yeah, you're looking for an agent who can sell your home for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. And in order to do that, you need a very, very aggressive listing agent. So one of the questions you need to ask your agent is, how much money are you spending on marketing? Now, a lot of agents will give you a dog and pony show about, well, when we list properties, it goes out to all these third-party websites and all of this. Well, yeah, that's included when it's listed on the MLS. But how much money are you spending on marketing? Because what I've found is that many agents will maybe spend money on pictures, and that's about it. And you have to keep in mind, on some of these homes that we're buying and renovating, we're spending $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in renovations, and agents aren't willing to spend more than just a couple $100 for pictures. I'm sorry, but that's just not right. An investor is putting in a very, very large investment. So when you bring on a listing agent, they need to be spending money on marketing.
So at the end of the day here, you're really looking for an agent who's willing to take a little less, right? they're not trying to pocket that entire commission because they're going to put a little bit into the advertising. And that will help them get it sold more quickly. And ideally, it will help them actually get more deals done with you. And in the end, they'll make more money. So you need someone with that sort of long sight, be able to see, several steps down the road and is not just looking at the deal immediately in front of them.
Yeah, you're looking for an agent with a long-term vision. One thing that you should insist on for your agents to provide for you, if you're in the city of Chicago, is paying for the sign that's in front of the yard. And I'm not talking about a normal sign. If you're in Chicago, you can put up a large 4-foot by 4-foot sign, which is advertising your home during the entire construction process. Many times you can get your buyer before you're even finished, which then eliminates market time and eliminates time that you're holding on to the property, which ultimately puts more money in your pocket. And not only with the sign, they should also be doing some sort of pre-marketing. Agents can become a premier agent on Zillow, and they can do what's called coming soon listings. And it's interesting because coming soon listings, Zillow in many cases will actually prop those properties up even before many regular for sale homes. So doing coming soons on Zillow and Trulia and pre-marketing your home is really important.
2 quick caveats on the signs. Obviously, whether you can put up a sign depends on where you are. In Chicago, you can. In some of the suburbs, you can't. And it varies nationwide as to whether that's permitted or not. The other thing to think about is you should consider the neighborhood. If you're putting up the sign too early and you're advertising that, hey, here's an open construction site, we have some pipes you might want to come steal, you may not want to put it up. So it's neighborhood dependent as to whether you're even going to want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, and I'm not advocating this, we always get permits, but if you're not getting permits and you put up a huge sign in the front, this is a big bullseye for the city to see, hey, what the heck's going on here? So another thing that your listing agent should be investing in is high resolution photography with a high megapixel camera. People on the internet, they will decide whether they like your house or they don't like your house within a matter of seconds. And if they click not interested on their feed, your home will likely never be seen by that buyer ever again. So it's important to have a very, very nice front picture that needs to catch their eye, and that's why it's always good to have the front of the house always done when you list it. But having that first photo and then all the subsequent photos so that you make a buyer raise their hand and say, yes, I want to take a look at this home.
And we've got a borrower right now who's actually struggling with this issue. His sale agent put it up there with dark pictures that were not that high resolution, so it's kind of hard to see what you're looking at. Some of the photos were rotated to the side, so you kind of have to turn your head to even look at it. And we took a quick look and we're just like, wow, we understand why this is sitting. This is not popping at all. This is not eye-catching. And having someone put up the proper photos can really mean the difference between, are you going to sit for 2 months or are you going to get it sold quickly?
Yeah, I've taken on listings in the past where another previous agent failed to sell it. And what it really came down to simply, it wasn't priced wrong. It was that they had terrible pictures. I've seen homes where they've got dark shadows in the background, or perhaps you can see Fido running around in the living room, and you see things that shouldn't be in the pictures, and taking pictures on a cell phone. If an agent is doing that, you need to get a new agent.
Then another thing you'll want to consider is video. The best agents out there will do videos of your property. Josh actually is an expert at this, and he's put up some very interesting videos. We've seen him. I've seen ones you made where you sort of tell a story, and through that story, for instance, children running around playing hide and seek, and they show the whole property that way. So the best agents will have these kind of high quality, creative ideas to show videos of your property.
Yeah, one thing that we do, especially with those videos, sometimes we'll even bring in actors when we list our properties. And the reason why we're doing this is we're trying to sell a home without selling it, meaning people don't like to be sold or advertised to. If they feel that they are, a lot of times they're not going to be interested in watching your boring virtual tour with pictures and piano music in the background. I'm sorry, that doesn't captivate me. If I want to look at the pictures, I'm just going to click through them. You need to have high-resolution photography and having the actors and all that. Now, that's not necessary on all your listings, but if you have a higher-end listing, it's something that your agent should be investing in.
Yeah, when I saw Josh's video, I obviously had no interest in buying that home, but I sat through an entire video because it was interesting enough for me to actually sit through it.
Yeah, it's interesting. We look sometimes at not only the views that are on the videos, but also how long are people actually spending on the video. And those videos where we do that, people are doing exactly that. They're not just watching it for 10 seconds and then going somewhere else. They're actually engaged with that video for the full 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Another thing you want to look at, and they're called 3D virtual tours. So there's this company out there called Matterport, and they have a software which is pretty much like Google Maps. So Google Maps, you can, if you want to look at a street and see what the street view looks like, you can look around the neighborhood, and it's like you're driving your car. Well, you can do the same thing for a house, like you're actually physically in the house. It's called a 3D virtual tour. Now, again, this is something that I've looked at when buyers are looking at my properties, and I've spoken to many buyers where they're like, I was on that 3D tour last night for over an hour. Did you notice that this piece of trim wasn't painted in this room? And people will literally spend time going through the entire house. Again, if you have a lot of things wrong with the house, I don't recommend you doing a 3D tour. But if it's fully done, you want people to engage. And it also allows buyers from other parts of the United States. Perhaps someone's moving from New York and they're going to be moving to Chicago. They no longer need to get on a plane to see your home. They can actually go to this 3D tour and virtually walk through the home. Another thing you want to keep in mind is creating a website for your property. If your property is 123 Main Street, you should have a website, 123mainstreet.com. This is a place where you have access to the 3D tour, to the drone video that you might have done, maybe you want the high-resolution photos there, the high-resolution video. And then, of course, also doing open houses is very, very important as well. A lot of agents say open houses aren't necessary, but that's because a lot of agents are lazy. Open houses have sold my properties and my clients' properties. They do work, so you need to have open houses as well to get the most amount of exposure on your property. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the marketing plan that I use to sell my homes for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. See you soon.
You're an investor, a lender in commercial real estate, or you're an attorney, and you use a title company. National Title Solutions wants a chance to be your title company. Give them a shot at your business, and you'll find out why they're the best choice. Most title companies keep banking hours and have no flexibility. National Title Solutions will do whatever it takes on your timetable. You'll save money, too. Give them an opportunity and see the difference. Convenient offices all over. National Title Solutions. Call 800-NTS-2700. 800-NTS-2700.
This is Joshua Ingalls, broker with United Real Estate and radio show host. When I need to pre-qualify a buyer, I use Matthew Ewald from First Advantage Mortgage, a Draper & Kramer company. I've worked with Matthew for over 2 years, and I highly recommend him to all my clients and investors. Call Matthew Ewald today at 630-376-0484. That's 630-376-0484, or apply online at mortgagechicagoland.com.
Company NMLS 2551, NMLS 198323, Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee, Equal Housing Lender.
The Chicagoland Real Estate Investment Group invites you to build your network in real estate investing and learn from the region's experts. There's no charge to attend, and there won't be any hard sell for expensive courses. Join us on the fourth Monday each month in the North Shore. For more information, visit us at meetup.com/ChicagolandREI. Again, that's meetup.com/ChicagolandREI. Meetup.com/ChicagolandREI.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. and they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. Now, back to the show that gives you the insider info. Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
We're talking today about working with real estate agents to buy and sell properties. One point on seller's agents, which we covered in our last segment that I'd like to chime in on, is that the biggest mistake we're going to see from them is that they get pricing wrong. A lot of times they'll want to price it higher because it looks nice, because of some sort of feeling or something along those lines. Or they'll say, oh, we could always back it down. The issues with this is always when you're pricing it too high, you run the risk of taking longer. You're going to need to get to that price that it'll sell at in the market. And the best way to determine that is to look at comparable properties. This goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, finding someone who can help you analyze. If you've got a selling agent who knows how to do these sort of analysis, they'll be able to better price your properties and allow you to sell it in the shortest amount of time possible.
Another thing with pricing you want to keep in mind, and a lot of agents are still stuck in this mindset of listing a $200,000 home for $199,000. This, in fact, believe it or not, there's less buyers at $199,000 than there is at an even $200,000. And I'll explain why. If you go to Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin, if you look at your search criterias, minimum and maximum, they're always even numbers. So if I'm looking at a home between $150,000 and $200,000, the house will come up at the $199,000. But if there's a buyer looking at homes between $200,000 and $225,000, by you listing it at $199,000, you've just missed that buyer that had their search set up to begin at $200,000, because everything is done on even increments. I've actually taken on a listing where the gentleman had it listed for over a year. He was listed at $209,000. I listed the home at $200,000. Within a week, we had multiple offers, and we actually ended up selling the home. We're getting offers over the asking price of $200,000, and he was listed for over a year at $209,000. So pricing your home just a matter of a few $1,000s is extremely, extremely important. And you can do what's called reverse prospecting if you have access to your MLS. And what reverse prospecting allows you to do is to see how many buyers are looking at specific price points. And so before I ever list a home, I will always use this reverse prospecting tool, as well as looking at the comps to see where are the most buyers looking at homes.
So that requires you to have MLS access. And one way to do that, of course, is for you to become an agent yourself. So let's think about some of the pluses and minuses of that. At the start of it, you got to spend some time. So there's classes you need to take, and you're going to need to prepare for those classes. So that's a certain amount of time. Josh, what would you say the time is to do all that stuff?
I believe in Illinois it's 120 hours of coursework. Again, this is going to vary across the country, but it's not something where you're just going to go to class for a week and you're going to be a real estate agent. There's a serious time commitment involved to become licensed, and also state tests.
And on top of that, of course, there's a cost. You have to pay for the materials. You have to pay for the courses. There's probably a licensing fee. This varies widely from state to state, but, assume you're going to spend a few grand to get there.
Some of the pluses, though, if you are licensed, of course, you do get MLS access, which is extremely powerful to have. And you can get access to properties without being accompanied by an agent. If you're a buyer, you're technically not supposed to be in any property alone unless you're accompanied by a real estate agent. If you're licensed, you can go into that property at any time.
And we spoke last week about how getting a good agent can help you get into these properties quickly, one who can help you get in. If you can avoid that, you'll be able to do things more quickly. So that's just one advantage of being an agent. Another one, of course, is you can simply list properties yourself. Normally you're paying some sort of commission when you sell a property, but if you can just list it yourself, then that's a good thing. Now, keep in mind, you've got to be committed to do the marketing necessary to get it sold that we talked about earlier. But if you're up for that, you've got some savings that you can keep.
Yeah, you want an agent, if you're in an area, let's say, where you don't have a lot of experience. There's an agent in particular that comes to mind. He does a lot of stuff on the south side. So a lot of people, even though they're licensed, they'll list it through him because he has a large pool of buyers. So even though you're licensed, you may not always list your own properties, but it is something that you can do and can save some money. Some things to keep in mind, though, when you do become licensed is you are going to be limited on the type of marketing you can do. For example, if you're going to want to do bandit signs, which are very, very effective, you can't do those as a real estate agent because real estate agents call that essentially blind marketing. If you have something out there that says we buy houses and a phone number and you're a real estate agent, you're breaking licensing law and you can get in a lot of trouble for doing that.
And that law has disclosure requirements in the various marketing that you do. So that's another thing you need to think about. Bandit signs or not, you need to put the disclosure in there. And of course, two other minuses, you've got ongoing costs, your registration fees each year, and you've got ongoing educational requirements, so you've got a time commitment.
The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of my marketing plan so you can sell your properties for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. See you soon.
Real estate agents are cheap. Many agents will only market your home on the MLS and put a sign up. Demand more. Joshua Ingalls invests in aggressive marketing, including high-def video, 3D virtual tours, professional photography, a custom website, and mailers, so you can get the most amount of money for your home in the shortest amount of time. Call Joshua Ingalls, broker with United Real Estate Chicago, at 630-544-1504 for a free home valuation, or visit HomeTeamIL.com to learn more.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. Now, back to the show with real estate info you won't find anywhere else. Real Estate Airwaves is on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about working with real estate agents and how to do that appropriately, working with buyers agents, and of course working with listing agents. And now, if you don't want to become an agent yourself, but you may want to get access to the MLS, you can become a realtor's or agent's assistant. So that's something you can do to get access to the MLS.
The ultimate thing this does, it gets you access, and you'll be able to do MLS searches and things like that. You become an assistant basically to an agent who's finding properties for you. So in effect, you're helping him find properties for you. Now, the typical quid pro quo in this situation is that you're going to give that agent the listings. And I think that's a pretty fair situation. Now, the way it's normally set up is that you'll cover the costs, and it can range a couple $100 typically annually to be an assistant, depends where you are. You could also agree to do a certain amount of work for them. So you could say, hey, I'll give you 4 hours a week. You let me be an assistant, and I will be able to then search the MLS for you. We've actually used this in several markets where we're active in buying, where we say, okay, we want you to find properties for us, but we also want to be able to look ourselves. And you send us a property. We want to be able to find those leads ourselves and find those comps and look at them on our own. So we've set this up in several markets. Here in the Chicago market, I'm not actually an agent, but I am an assistant to one of the agents in our office, and I do help with the acquisition of properties there. So I'm doing a pretty traditional role for an agent or for an agent's assistant, and that allows me to get ML access through that.
I have heard of agents in some cases where they give out their username and password. Now, if an agent does this, they're breaking the MLS violations. They're also breaking some licensing laws, and they could get in a lot of trouble. And I have heard of people getting caught doing that. And again, that's something I'm not recommending you to do. So if you want MLS access and you want to do it the right way, becoming an assistant for a real estate agent is the best method to do that.
Assistants will have various limitations. It obviously changes from area to area. But obviously you can't take on the role of a real estate agent if you're just an assistant. So that means you can't submit offers, you can't list properties, you can't enter a property without an agent. So really becoming an assistant, the big benefit for an investor is really just that you can get access to the MLS. You really can't do much else. And if you do need to do any of that other thing, that's the time when you call the agent and you say, hey, I want to put an offer in on this. Can you do that for me? And they'll do that for you. Another one, and that's pretty interesting, is that I think here in the Chicago market, you actually can't be on the MLS after a certain time of night. Now, I'm not fully sure why they would put that rule in place where agents looking things up at 1 a.m. and that became a bad thing. I don't know. But you'll be subject to not only the logical limitations, but just certain other limitations that you'll find in the various MLS areas that you're looking to become an assistant in.
Yeah, keep in mind, again, if you're looking to become an agent's assistant, you should be covering your cost that's associated with that, but how can you provide that real estate agent some value so it makes sense for them to want you to become their agent? If you're just saying, hey, I want to be your agent, and you're not providing any value to that real estate agent, why would they do that? So think of ways that you can provide value. For example, if they have clients and they need to run comps, perhaps you can run comps for their other clients, and you can do CMAs for them. There's administrative tasks that you can do for them. Figure out what that agent, what their needs are, and figure a way out that you can fulfill those needs and be of value to that agent so it makes sense for you to become that agent's assistant.
Yeah, if you could trade a few hours of your time to do work that they otherwise need to get done, that is a very reasonable trade to get access to the valuable data that is available on the MLS. Another thing that can do is that can serve as a kind of training for you. You'll see some of the stuff going on in the market. You'll see, even if it's for homeowners, you'll see that the various steps that are taking place in a transaction, and you'll know better when you're selling your property because you've been acting as an assistant to the agent.
Yeah, and there are services out there that allow you to get essentially access in a way to the MLS without you being licensed or being an assistant. And what these services do is they actually pull data from the MLS. So there is a service out there which is getchicagocomps.com. Again, that's getchicagocomps.com. And what that website allows you to do is it pulls the data just like you're on the MLS because it's pulling the data straight from the MLS versus Zillow. Some of that information on Zillow or Trulia may not be up to date. It may be a month or 2 months behind. I've had people contact me and be like, hey, look at this property. It looks great. And they send me the address. They saw it on Zillow. I look it up, and the property was sold 2 months ago.
What we found to be the issues with sites like that, and there are sites like that in pretty much every metropolitan area across the country, is that they're not up to date to the minute, which the MLS always is. So in these transactions where you need to act quickly to buy it because somebody else will if you don't, they often aren't the greatest source, although some of them may be. So you really need to dig into how they're getting their data and how quickly it's showing up in order to know how valuable a tool it is.
The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the marketing that I use to sell my clients' homes for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. Stay tuned.
You're an investor, a lender in commercial real estate, or you're an attorney, and you use a title company. National Title Solutions wants a chance to be your title company. Give them a shot at your business, and you'll find out why they're the best choice. Most title companies keep banking hours and have no flexibility. National Title Solutions will do whatever it takes on your timetable. You'll save money, too. Give them an opportunity and see the difference. Convenient offices all over. National Title Solutions. Call 800-NTS-2700. 800-NTS-2700.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. It's all about making money with real estate. Now, back to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. We're talking today about working with real estate agents. So the first thing we covered today was working with buyer's agents and what you need to do to find a good buyer's agent. You ultimately need to strike a balance between their experience and the number of investors they're working with and their availability to work with you. Obviously, it's great if they've worked with lots of investors, but if they've got 5 investors who are buying 20 properties a month and you're coming on and say, I want to buy 1 or 2, well, it's going to be a challenge for them to work with you. So you want to strike a balance there. You want to make sure they know how to analyze deals, that they know how to analyze the market, and that they've got sufficient experience. We then moved on to talking about seller's agents. And the primary thing you need to know here is that in addition to the skills that a buyer agent needs, they need to be marketers. They need to have sufficient skill in marketing, and they need to be committed to do that marketing, particularly through some kind of budget beyond a few $100 for picks. You know, the most aggressive agents will be able to provide various services like high definition video and signage and things that get your property out in the minds of the buyers in the market beyond simply putting nice pictures up on the MLS. We then spoke about you actually getting licensed yourself and the pluses and minuses of that. You know, you got to spend time. It's a real time commitment to get a license, and you got to put a little money down, a few grand to get your materials and tests and licensing fees and all that stuff done. Now, on the plus side of that, you get MLS access. You can go into properties without being accompanied by an agent. You can list your own stuff and save money if you're so inclined and want to put the marketing time in. The minuses, of course, ongoing costs, ongoing educational requirements. You've got disclosure requirements on any marketing you're doing, and that'll limit you in the type of marketing you can do. For instance, bandit signs become very difficult to do because you can't put the proper disclosure. We talked about becoming an agent's assistant, where you give the agent some time and you help them find properties for yourself and maybe do some other light work for them. That will get you MLS access with certain limitations on what you can do, but it will get you ultimately to that data. We talked about using third-party sites that will allow you to get MLS access effectively indirectly. They can have pluses and minuses, and you should look into each one. You want to make sure that they're getting a real-time feed and they're up to the minute. Some of them will not be, but the best ones will be. So you should confirm that before committing to one of those.
Yeah, if you go to getchicagocomps.com, they're actually going to be giving away a free month of service, so you can actually test that data. So you can actually see, is this data accurate and is it up to date? And going back, talking about working with buyer's agents, seller's agents, no matter what, if you're working with real estate agents, you need to make sure that they're willing to communicate with you and that there's always that open line of communication with these agents. Again, good deals don't last long, so having an aggressive buyer's agents to help you find them is important, and it's equally important to have that aggressive listing agents so that you will sell your home for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. And the number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will actually be getting a copy of the listing marketing plan that I use to sell my clients' homes for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. Now, next week will be Christmas, so we will have a Christmas miracle here, and we will be live, and we'll be giving away Christmas presents, so make sure to tune in. And of course, make sure to check out our meeting. It's the first Tuesday of every month, so that will be on January the 3rd. You can visit fliptoriches.com, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer. Come back next Sunday at noon for more insider real estate information from Joshua and Vincent. You can listen to past shows, contact them, and get free exclusive content at realestateairwaves.com. That's realestateairwaves.com.